So how do we get to that greater acceptance? Well, there are a couple of things. I mean, obviously, we are always promoting our spiritual practice of meditation and prayer and affirmation, working with our spiritual counselors, all of that. But there are a couple of points that I'd like to remind us of. And one is one that Dr. Mark reminds us of every year when we're setting these goals for ourselves. And that is, the goal needs to be at least 50% believable to you today, okay? So if you've been earning minimum wage your whole life, and you want to start earning $10 million, totally possible in the mind of God, but probably unlikely that your consciousness is going to accept that kind of expansion. It's probably going to be hard for you to accept it. You want to set a goal that does feel like an expansion from where you are, but that is at least 50% believable to you. And the second thing is it's really important when we're setting that goal that we sense the goodness that we will experience as a result of the goal. It's very important that we have a feeling of this really being a good thing. You know, how often do we set goals for ourselves for that greater physical health, that healthy diet we're now going to adopt, that healthier relationship, that healing of this resentment that we're going to move through, or step into that new experience for a career, and then our fears come up about maybe not being worthy, or that it might be really hard and unpleasant, or that we might fail or be rejected and hurt. You know, if those fears are stronger than our sense of good, we're not going to let ourselves move into the greater goodness. His Holiness the Dalai Lama, in The Art of Happiness, when he was interviewed and asked about why is it that so many people can perceive what would ultimately be for their greater good, but they don't actually adopt that behavior, that new way of being. And he said it's absolutely essential for them to see it as something that is preferable to where they are now. So, for example, when we're sitting with that gallon of Häagen-Dazs in our lap, if we do not perceive that it would be better for us, that we would actually feel better not eating it, if we don't have a sense of that really being good for us, as opposed to the temporary gratification we're going to get from eating it now, guess where we're going to go with that one? It's like, and then we have an empty Häagen-Dazs and a stomach ache and whatever else comes forth. So how do we? Oh, you've been there too, huh? How do you bridge the gap between that idea, that thought of what would be for a greater good, and this limiting belief that we have right now that is preventing us from bringing it forth into manifestation? And the key ingredient, folks, that you will hear over and over again is feeling. It's absolutely essential, as we are perceiving that greater good for ourselves, that we have a feeling of the God qualities that those experiences represent to us, and absolutely feel the goodness of it and feel how it's beneficial to us. Now, our founder, Ernest Holmes, told us, for those of you who have taken our classes where we work a lot with affirmation and we do an affirmative prayer that we call spiritual mind treatment, he said it's not the words, it's the feeling that accompanies the words, the fire and the brimstone in your heart that helps you to expand in consciousness. Ernest Holmes himself, when he was wanting to experience some greater good for himself, he would think about that experience and sit in meditation and sit in the feeling of the expansion of the experience and feel it is absolutely real.